Today, we're re-diving deep into the declassified files to uncover the shocking truth behind the CIA's quest for mind control. The story begins in the tense atmosphere of the Cold War. The CIA was convinced that Soviet, Chinese, and North Korean agents were using sophisticated mind control techniques to brainwash American prisoners of war. Faced with this perceived threat, the agency decided it needed to not only catch up but surpass its enemies. And so, under the codename MKUltra, they launched a top-secret research program to explore every conceivable method of manipulating human consciousness. The director of the CIA at the time, Allen Dulles, approved the project in 1953. It was run by a chemist named Sidney Gottlieb, who became the mastermind behind some of the program's most infamous experiments. Gottlieb and his team were given a wide mandate and a virtually unlimited, off-the-books budget. Their mission was to develop drugs, psychological tools, and even electronic devices that could be used for interrogation, information extraction, and influencing human behavior. At the heart of MKUltra was the search for a truth serum. The CIA experimented with a vast array of substances, including barbiturates and amphetamines, but they became particularly interested in hallucinogens. Lysergic acid diethylamide, or LSD, became the star of the show. The agency believed that LSD could break down a person's ego and defenses, making them more susceptible to suggestion and interrogation. They wanted to know if they could use it to make someone reveal their deepest secrets or even program them to carry out commands without any memory of doing so. To test these theories, the CIA needed human subjects. And this is where the story takes a truly dark turn. The experiments weren't just conducted in sterile labs with willing volunteers, far from it. MKUltra's research involved hundreds, possibly thousands, of unwitting American and Canadian citizens. Experiments were carried out in universities, hospitals, and even prisons. Researchers, often funded through front organizations so they didn't even know they were working for the CIA, administered LSD and other potent drugs to students, mental patients, and inmates. In cities like New York and San Francisco, the CIA set up safe houses disguised as normal apartments. They hired prostitutes to lure unsuspecting men back to these locations. Once there, the men were dosed with LSD without their knowledge, while agents watched from behind two-way mirrors, taking notes on their reactions. The goal was to study the effects of the drug in a more natural setting and to see if it could be used to compromise individuals for blackmail or recruitment. The human cost of these experiments was devastating. Many participants suffered severe psychological trauma, including memory loss, intense anxiety, and lasting mental health problems. The case of Frank Olson is perhaps the most tragic example. Olson was an Army scientist working on bioweapons who was also linked to the MKUltra program. In 1953, he was secretly dosed with LSD by his CIA colleagues. 9 days later, he fell to his death from a hotel window in New York City. His death was initially ruled a suicide, but his family fought for decades, convinced he was murdered because he knew too much and was having second thoughts about the program. Besides drugs, MKUltra explored other disturbing avenues of mind control. They investigated hypnosis, sensory deprivation, and psychological abuse. In one series of experiments, renowned psychologist Donald Ewing Cameron at McGill University in Montreal subjected patients to what he called psychic driving. Patients, many of whom were admitted for minor issues like anxiety, were put into drug-induced comas for weeks at a time. They were then subjected to electroshock therapy at much higher intensities than normal and forced to listen to looped audio messages for hours on end. The goal was to erase their existing memories and personalities and implant new ones. The results were catastrophic, leaving many patients with permanent brain damage and childlike mental states. For nearly 2 decades, MKUltra operated in total secrecy. But the house of cards began to fall in the 1970s. Following the Watergate scandal, a new era of government accountability began. In 1974, journalist Seymour Hersh published a bombshell report in the New York Times exposing the CIA's illegal domestic spying activities. This opened the floodgates. Congress launched investigations, most notably the Church Committee in the Senate and the Pike Committee in the House. When these committees started demanding documents related to McCullough, they hit a major roadblock. In 1973, facing the possibility of exposure, then CIA Director Richard Helms had ordered all files related to the project to be destroyed. It was a massive cover-up. However, a clerical error saved the day. A small collection of financial documents, about 20,000 pages, had been mistakenly stored in the wrong location and survived the purge. While these documents didn't detail the experiments themselves, they provided a crucial paper trail, revealing the scope of the project, the institutions involved, and the sheer amount of money spent. The revelations were shocking to the public. The idea that a U.S. government agency had conducted such dangerous and unethical experiments on its own citizens was a profound betrayal of trust. The Church Committee hearings brought the grim details to light, leading to widespread public outrage and calls for reform. As a result, new laws and executive orders were put in place to prohibit this kind of experimentation and increase oversight of intelligence agencies. So, did the CIA ever achieve its goal of creating a Manchurian Candidate-style assassin or a perfect truth serum? The declassified records suggest that, despite all the horrific experiments, they ultimately failed. The effects of LSD and other techniques proved to be far too unpredictable. Instead of compliant, truth-telling subjects, they often ended up with people who were confused, paranoid, or simply babbling nonsense. The program was a colossal failure in terms of its stated objectives, but it left a trail of ruined lives in its wake. The legacy of McCullough serves as a chilling reminder of what can happen when secret power goes unchecked. It raises profound questions about ethics and science, government accountability, and the very nature of human consciousness. While the program was officially terminated decades ago, its shadow looms large, fueling conspiracy theories and public distrust to this day. It's a dark chapter in American history, one that we must never forget to ensure that such abuses of power never happen again. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into one of the CIA's darkest secrets. It's a complex and unsettling topic, and I appreciate you sticking with it. If you found this video informative, please hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel for more explorations into hidden history. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. See you next time.